Hey, Planeswalkers, Mythras here. Hope you're doing well and staying safe. We got a big day today. We got the Innistrad Crimson Vow set for you. It is live and we're going to town. A little bit of rocky start out of the gate here, but we got a lot of fun information for you to set you up for success today here on the channel nonetheless. So lots of things popping on the Discord server, seeing some great deck lists on top of that with a lot of success as well. So congratulations to all the friends in there and Planeswalkers. So with that, appreciate you tuning in. Flip me that like. Feel free to pop into the Discord server. That information's in the details. If you happen to have questions, if you have comments, you can also let me know down below. Love to hear from you as always. But why you're here, so feel free to check out the timestamps where I will break down the key mechanics here for the new set because there are a couple differences. We'll then go talk about some of the main archetypes here that are going to help you in both limited as well as draft and sealed. So that's a big piece here, and a lot of times there's some carryover to standard when that happens as well. And then last but not least, we will talk about some of those standard impacts and go from there. So excited to be bringing you this guide, my friends, here today. Again, like I said, if you got questions, if you got comments, let me know. Appreciate your support as always. Great ways to stay connected, like subscribing to the channel or other venues of information for you too that I provide. So last but not least, appreciate that support. Feel free to sign up for YouTube membership or Patron as well. Lots of good information there, and looking forward to expanding that for you too. So here's what we got going on. Like I said, the first piece is going to be mechanics. I just absolutely love this art. It's a great picture here, but here's what we got going on. And I did like the new Innistrad short, so you can check that out too. With that, Crimson Vow mechanics. You can find this information directly on Magic's website here, but a couple of key pieces. We have training. So training is essentially an up-leveling of your creature. If there's someone attacking that's bigger in terms of the power, you'll get a +1/+1 on this creature, making it much bigger. So very, very cool from that side, and we'll talk about how this fits into some of the stuff in terms of the archetypes here in a little bit, but that's a big one. So again, whenever a creature with train attacks alongside of a creature power greater, put a +1/+1 on that creature with train. Pretty sweet. Now here's a key: the powers of the attacking creatures are checked at the moment they attack. So once the training ability triggers, doesn't matter what happens to the other creature. So that's going to be important for you in terms of the stack. So keep that in mind. Next, we got Cleave. Cleave is a pretty cool new key component here because it's a keyword that does a lot of stuff. So what happens is with Cleave, if you pay the Cleave cost, you can remove the brackets. So in this case, you can either use Dig Up for 1, which would search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So in this case, if we pay the Cleave, we can remove the brackets. So it's search your library for a card, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So a tutor card here to go pick something out of your deck, which is very important and could potentially be that game closer for you there in terms of what needs to happen. So this particular one's at sorcery speed, but again, this is how it works. So no matter how you cast the card that has Cleave, the resulting spell's color and mana are value are both based on the spell's mana cost. Specifically, Dig Up is a green spell with a mana value 1, even if you choose to cast it for Cleave cost. As it always has, Innistrad offers you plenty of opportunities to cleave your troubles behind. That's pretty good. So that's important for us to remember as well, because that's going to make a huge difference, again, with terms of play, stack, and mechanics there. Next, we got blood tokens. So this is a big new one here. It's introducing a new predefined token, blood tokens. These are colorless artifact tokens. So we get a lot of artifact tokens. These are sweet. Discard a card, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. So essentially a cycle, but through a blood token, which is kind of interesting here. Now, they also have enablers. So whenever whenever Gluttonous Guest enters the battlefield, create a blood token. Whenever you sacrifice a blood token, you gain 1 life. So there are things like that. I know the new Vampire also, I think, flips after so many blood tokens. I think it's like 5 or something like that. And we'll take a look at that maybe a little bit later. Daybound, Nightbound. So something you're already familiar with. Boom, we flip it. And again, this is the cast no spells, cast 2 spells kind of a thing going on here, and important for us to remember that that's getting pulled through. So again, the day, the night, very, very cool here. Next, we have Disturb. So Disturb, again, was a carryover. This, again, was essentially exiling out of your graveyard for the Disturb crossed, and boom, you're going to get something else that's going to happen and help you out here today. Next, we see Exploit again. So I talked about this a little bit in my tier list video that they'll pop up here a little bit later when we talk about standard. But things to keep in mind, this came out of Dragons of Tarkir, a set that I played very, very heavily in one of the first sets. That whole grouping, cons, all that stuff, was a good one for me to come back and play very heavily. So Exploit was a Silmagar, very, very popular, and makes a huge, huge difference here. So we'll see this mechanic again, but what it does is it triggers when you enter. When this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice this. In this case, with Rot Tide Gargantua, exploits a creature, each opponent sacrifices a creature. So essentially you're paying 5 to cast a creature or make some magic happen on the board state. So pretty important. All right, so places, everyone, as it says. Let's go ahead and we're going to move over to the next portion of this video here. So we've talked about all the different key mechanics, the new pieces that are here for you to pay attention to. Now let's see how that's going to fall and pull through with our archetypes. So first off, here's a card image gallery. We'll go back through this in a second, but we want to talk about some of those archetypes here nonetheless. So a couple of things here to kick off before we get moving, and I walk through all those things. I do want to talk about some of the stuff that the team, the Multiverse team, is pulling up here on the channel in the Discord server. But the biggest pieces that they're starting to see having a lot of fun with are certainly UW Spirits. We got Humans decks, Mono White or Selesnya in the terms of GW training. And last but not least here, Blue Black or UB Disturb, or not Disturb, sorry, Exploit is very, very popular here as well, and some of the enchantment stuff. So just want to call that out ahead of time as we go ahead now, and we'll flip over. I did want to show you this. I really like these cardgamebase.com Crimson Vows draft guide. So a lot of times these guys do a good job helping with the archetypes, so feel free to check it out. But I like to use this so you can see exactly what some of these archetypes are. So again, we got Disturbed Spirits and Enchantments. So again, that block blue-white is going to be a big piece. Black-white Lifegain here is going to be another one. Again, heavily tied to vampires, things like that. Next, we have Green-White Humans Training. So again, that was one of the ones that I talked about that people have been finding a lot of success with in the Discord server. Next, we have Red and White Aggro. So not too much have I heard about this so far, but we'll continue to keep an eye on this one. This is one to keep in mind. Again, here's Blue-Black Exploit. It does take a little bit of setup, they've said in the Discord server, in terms of the draft side, but it's certainly very powerful when you can get it to click. Next, we have Blue-Red Non-Creature spells. So there's an interesting one. We have Blue-Green Self-Mill. Everybody always loves those. We also have Red-Black Blood Vampires. So again, leveraging the blood token synergy here could be a big one for you. Black-Green Big Toughness. So that's fun to always have one of these. So we got Golgari Big Creatures, which is always fun. I'm a big fan of big creature decks, particularly in draft, because it always can be a good feel safe for you, depending on where you're at and how you're playing. Next, we have Red Green Werewolves. So again, obviously wolves isn't going away. It's a big component and part of what's happening here in the set. And in terms of power rankings here, I like to talk about this as something I noticed too. So again, here's all the 10 archetypes. I'll make sure this is listed for you down below. And then the best colors. So white, black, red, green, blue. At least that's what, initially out of the gate, these guys are saying. White certainly is very, very powerful. There's a lot of indestructible in there. The humans do a lot of different things and fold into some of the key archetypes here, like spirits, Inhumans Training, Lifegain, and Aggro as well. So there's a good distribution there in terms of how you can play white, either as main or supporting, which is a big deal there as always. So just wanted to call that out and give you that information. So next, what are we talking about? And we're going to see some of the key impacts here, potential in terms of standard and what's happening. So here's what we got going on. Yesterday, I posted my tier list for November. I did this on purpose. I know that it was late, but I had to pound through these decks to get you the right information and some of the gameplay information that's going to help you in your journey. So you certainly can check this out. You can go to my website and see what that list looks like, because these, as I always say, are the biggest pullover and value that you're going to get when you start into a new set as things happen. We don't ever see or have seen, at least for the past almost 2 years that I've been doing this, a complete removal of the meta. Usually there's an enhancement or a couple new decks that come in, and that's certainly exactly what happened with Innistrad Midnight Hunt as well. So let's go ahead here and we'll move over and take a look and see and assess some of these things that we have going on here. So white. What are the key pieces that we need to think about white? So mono white is already a key archetype. The curve is low. So anything that could potentially enhance that or give some better kind of mid to top end range here is going to be a big piece. We also have Selesnya already in here in terms of a solid mid-range deck. I think if anything, the new cards here really help in that space, like Cemetery Protector. We also have a very cool beastly card here. This one, Sigarda's Summons, where creatures we control with +1/+1 counters on them have base power, toughness 4/4. This could be a good closer in that deck, or a mirror match breaker. We got good other drops here, like this guy, Savior of Olenbach. Again, all the training is going to enable those +1/+1 counters, and that's going to be a big key piece to those things. Next, we also have mono or Boros Aggro Lantern Flare could be one that could happen. So this is going to deal X damage to target creature planeswalker. You gain X life. X is the number of creatures we control. You also have Cleave. So a very powerful card there nonetheless. So keep that in mind. Other potential in this space, I do think there could be some chances for some more enhancements on the flyer decks as well in terms of blue-white that you could see here. We got a lot of interesting things, or the traditional kind of spirit decks, because there's a lot of spirits here that you can keep in mind. So that's white. Again, powerful in terms of some of the cards that we've seen, at least from a limited. We'll see how that translates over. Oh, and again, a big one, Folly here, Guardian of Thrabain. I expect this to be in mono white aggro, particularly against late game decks. Stacking that non-creature spell is going to cost one more is absolutely brutal. It's brutal. So anything to slow those things down. This is a great card, Voice of the Blessed as well. And then again, we got some other flyers in terms of one-off with these vampires here. So very cool. I know there's more cards down below, and we'll get to those later. Next, we have blue. So a couple things with blue. Obviously, we've seen it in shells here in the turn shells, so that's going to be one impact to pay attention to. We also started to see some mono blue control coming in a little bit in terms of what was happening. Some zombie flavor. I do think we're going to potentially get a fringe kind of zombie deck. We had mono black zombies. I think blue could certainly enhance it. Example, this guy has an additional cast a spell, exile a creature from your graveyard, exile this guy from your graveyard, draw a card for a 1-drop. This is huge, particularly in a control deck potentially. Sounds interesting. A 3/3 body for 1 and exiling something that also gives you a draw could be very helpful. Again, probably more powerful and limited, but maybe could see some constructive play. I don't know. We'll see. Speculation there a little bit, but let's have some fun. We also have the other piece in white. We had enchantments. We also got continued enchantments here, like this one with Flash. Enchant creature. When it safety enters, enchant creature gains hexproof till end of turn, and then it also gains +1/+1. So there could be some combat mechanics. There's some cool stuff in those enchantments, but this guy's certainly a big one here. Cemetery Illuminator. a spirit flyer. Again, when it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile a card from a graveyard. You may look at the top card of your library anytime, so very powerful. Once each turn, you may cast a spell from the top of your library, which shares a card type with card exiled with Cemetery Illuminator. So that is big. That thing could be a real house. Again, in terms of flyers, a big one too. So we'll continue to move through. Again, lots of stuff in the zombies. We got a Dream Shackle Geist. And at the beginning of a combat on your turn, choose up to 1, tap target creature. Target creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Again, flyer, 3/1. Very powerful. So we get this ability to kind of play around and find some abilities to lock down or remove things off the board of our opponents, and we'll get a lot of things happening here. We have additional other sorcery type stuff, some big creatures here. This one's kind of cool, Necro Duality. There we go, got it. A little slow this morning. So here, zombies enter, create a token. Very, very powerful there in terms of a zombies deck. We got a zombie horror here. We got all kinds of things in the space. So I just like to plow through these and give you some examples of where some of these things could fit in. All right. And Wing Portent. This thing's got cleave. Draw a card for each creature with flying that you control. Could be really good in the Simic. Oddly enough, that was actually something I was thinking about yesterday. Simic was kind of powerful in 2022 standard. We didn't see it come through as much in terms of a key meta deck when we got to Innistrad. So maybe there's going to be some opportunity with that to reappear here. Next, black. So black, we have mono black control in the meta right now. Additionally, we're starting to see some Rakdos stuff. Again, the dimmer control was a big piece for us to keep in mind there. And we'll continue to see with that lens what could be here today. So again, we got some clerics. So cleric decks were some fun ones. Not as mainstream, kind of fringe. So that could certainly be a piece. Vampires, kind of similar. That's more in the Rakdos space. This guy's pretty big. Flying Trample, 5/6. Whenever opponent casts a spell, that player creates a blood token. Whenever this guy attacks, it gets +1/+0 for each blood token defending player controls. Very, very powerful there. That could be a top end card. That's a big, big hitter at the 4-drop slot. We got another zombie here with Cemetery Desecrator. We got our black flyers, Demonic Bargain. Exile the top 13 cards of your library, then search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, then shuffle. A very, very interesting card to go find what you need. You're getting rid of a ton of stuff though, almost again in that self-mill perspective. So just be a little bit careful. That could be a game changer. Who knows? We'll see. Next, we got a bunch of other stuff here. We got another big demon, 6/6 flyer at the beginning of end step. Sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, create a token that's a copy of Deadfast Demon. So boom, bigger flyers. That stacks really quickly. Dying to Serve, again, zombies. Edgar's Awakening there. We have Falcon Wrath Forebearer, again in the vampire space, and those things. Now, in terms of what else we got Graph Reaver, again, going into a zombie mechanic here. We got Exploit. When we sacrifice this, destroy target planeswalker. So this is a big one in the zombie pickup here. And then at the beginning of our upkeep, this guy deals 1 damage to you. So there's a big trade on that as well. So keep those things in mind. Again, another zombie here, 3/1. Whenever another non-zombie we control, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. We did remove the mechanic from Innistrad previously, where those 2/2 aren't dying after they attack in. So that's a big one to keep in mind. We got Hero's Downfall again, which is always a big card. Huge in limited. Always Path to Pearl. We have Destroy All Creatures, and then again with mana 2 or less, so this could be big in that Orzhov shell. So speaking of that, Orzhov was a big part of the control for a while. Not totally fully there for last meta. Maybe there's a chance to come back. We saw some fringe with Esper there towards the end as well. So this would go just fine in our lovely mono black control as well. We do pick up Sorin. So Sorin's a big one here. This guy is going to do a lot of stuff at the 4-drop slot. A good top end for you in any vampire deck as well. So keep that in mind. We got Toxrill, the corrosive here. Massive slug horror. Love it. 7/7. And we'll go from there. Good in blue-black, and a good closer there for any kind of dimmer control deck. So lots of stuff that we're seeing there, and some potential changes to some of the key constructed decks. Next, red. What do we hit in red? Well, we got Izzet, we got Gruul, we got Rakdos. No mono red aggro. I talked about this a little bit. Maybe there's some potential here. Again, when we look at Izzet, we got Alchemist Gamble now. Take an extra turn after this one. During that turn, damage can't be prevented. At the beginning of that turn, as end step, you lose the game. So again, this is like Chance for Glory. So huge, one of my favorite cards that I played in my Boros Knights deck. That was one of the key pieces for me in terms of arena and on the channel here. Certainly piloting my own deck. I don't always do that. Instead of the top decks, and hitting Mythic and doing very well Mythic with it. So this stuff, again, when we think about Boros, we're also going to think that some of the low to the ground stuff in the Rakdos shell, like we talked about, we got those vampires, and we do have Chandra. So Chandra here is going to be pretty big. A 3-drop is huge, always in the Planeswalker spot. We get some ability to play a lot of good stuff. Exile a top card of your library. If it's red, you may cast it during this turn. Good in an aggro deck, good in a spells deck. So keep those things in mind. Again, Cemetery Gatekeeper here, first strike, enters the graveyard, exile a card. Whenever a player plays a land or casts a spell, if it shares a card type with the exiled card, this guy's going to do 2 damage to that player. A great drainer, a great pinger, just kind of like I'm blanking on the goblin's name that drains you for 2, something skull, I think, or something like that. But anyway, we'll keep going. Change of Fortune, creepy puppeteer, lots of interesting stuff here. Now we also have curses, so I didn't cover those too heavily already, but that's going to be another component. Again, those enchantment decks, maybe there's going to be a fun 5-color enchantment. I don't know, we'll see. We have the Shrines deck. We got Dominated Vampire here. Again, lots of things. Sorcery, end of festivities, deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature and planeswalker they control. You can use this as a board wiper, a cheaper board wiper. It is at sorcery speed. Could be a sideboard card, for instance, or a cheaper sideboard card. We got Flame Blast Bolt, instant speed, 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If it dies, exile it instead, which is always big. And we'll continue. Kessig Wolf Rider, Menace. Exile 3 cards from your graveyard, create a 3/2 red wolf creature token. So this could go in a wolf deck. It could also go in an aggro deck, or a Boros deck as well. So some things to keep about. This is probably the biggest pickup here, Manaform Hellkite. So this thing is absolutely bonkers and ridiculous. This is gonna go in an Izzet shell, be prepared. It's gonna go in a dragon shell, be prepared. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX red dragon illusion creature token with flying and haste, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast that spell, exile that token at the beginning of the next end step. Oh, turns decks, Epiphany just got a lot harder and it's going to hit fast. And this is a big body at 4-drop too. So again, the previous one was Goldspan 4/4 flyer. This guy's going to be big. So a lot to shut things down, a lot to pay attention to here, and just keep in mind. So again, as we continue, we got more dragons, or sorry, we do have more dragons. We have more vampires, we got more wolves. Again, other things here. This is kind of a cool one. Stencia Uprising. At the beginning of your end step, create a 1/1 human creature token. Then if you control exactly 13 permanents, you may sacrifice this. When you do, it deals 7 damage to any target. This is a good top-end closer in Boros aggro, or a mono red aggro deck too. So keep those things in mind. That ability to go over the top and generate human tokens or tokens and hit for 7 is powerful. It's also going to lock up or change any board state stalls, which could be really, really big for you. So interesting one that maybe is going to see some play. 4 is not bad at the top in there either, always. So now we get to green. So some of the stuff with green to pay attention to, one, obviously we got mono green Stompy that's been huge. We got Selesnya in the space. We got Gruul. The other one that I think could see a little bit more is Golgari. We did a Golgari mid-range deck here on the channel, so certainly something to pay attention to. I gotta change my timer real quick here, otherwise it's gonna go off. Say I'm waking up. I was up real early today. Green. So Stompy again is big. We got the Gruul stuff. So here again, Werewolves, boom, pack leader, boom, one drop, very, very powerful, with a +1/+1 counter on it. So early game, whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, put a +1/+1 on this guy. Huge. That's going to make a big difference there. It scales well. A lot of things can happen. Limited, this guy's going to be big, so that goes back to the big creatures, those kinds of things here. 1 second. Oh, there we go. Feel free to support the channel. We got swag, all kinds of cool stuff. Thank you, as always. All right, Cemetery Prowler. Vigilance. Whenever this guy enters battlefield or attacks, exile a card from graveyard. Big when we got a lot of stuff that we can have essentially flashback. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each card type they share with cards that are exiled, so that's pretty big. That could see play. We got this guy, Cultivator Colossus. Boom, big dude. Could go well in a mid-range deck, or just big creatures deck. Trampled, power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control, and boom. Dig Up, we covered a little bit already on the Cleave stuff. Glorious Sunrise. So this is kind of interesting. Again, another enchantment there. Hamlet Vanguard. So this guy is going to be a big one. Certainly in a mid-range deck. Certainly a broker of power in terms of breaking stalls on the board too. Good in humans, good in wolves. A good mid-range guy as well. So next we have Hiveheart Shaman. That could do something maybe. Howling Moon. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target werewolf, you get controls 2/2 till end of turn. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, create a 2/2 wolf creature token. So this is a good sideboard card against spells decks and turns decks that could strengthen stuff, particularly after board wipes. They play 2 cards. They're gonna pay for it. So that's a big thing to think about. Laid to Rest could go in a Selesnya shell, something to think about in terms of draw, which could be really big for you to kind of reload after you get board wiped. Again, lots of more creatures here, humans, wolves, oh my, few enchantments. We have a Reclamation card, and now we move into multicolored. So again, most of this stuff in terms of the meta is multicolored, minus mono white, mono green, and mono black. That's been a big piece of the meta. And now we have Azor's Control. That was a big part too. But let's go ahead and see, what are some of these other key things that could happen. Obviously Angie here, we've talked about some of the vampire stuff. We get more in the Izzet space. Now again, here's a Simic card that's kind of interesting. Whenever a frog you control attacks, mill 3 cards. Whenever a permanent card is put in your graveyard from your library, exile it with a croak counter on it. You may play lands and cast spells with from among cards you own in exile with a croak counter on them. So that's kind of interesting. Could be an interesting one there. This is pretty good in the mid-range breakup. Again, first strike reach at the beginning of combat on your turn, put X +1/+1 counters. This is also breaker. We have Kaya, Geist Hunter there. Good in, again, could be good in spirit decks, good in the Orzhov control decks, those kinds of things. Again, clerics, vampires. We got another vampire soldier, another vampire. So good to see Olivia here. Again, I really liked Olivia from the original Innistrad. Certainly that was one of the cards that I bought quite a few of. Just enjoy that card. So other cool things here. We got Torrens, Fist of the Angels for our Selesnya grouping. Some interesting stuff like Wandering Mind. Again, Vile Spawn Spider with that self-mill card stuff going on here. Artifacts, what did we pick up? So one of the interesting things that we've seen a lot of talk about is Dollhouse of Horrors. So here we exile a creature card from our graveyard, create a token that's copy of the exile card, except it's a 0/0 construct artifact in addition to its other types. This creature gets +1/+1 for each construct you control. It gains haste until end of turn, activate only as a sorcery. So this could be a really good top-end card for creature-based decks to pull all these things back, make for a good out kind of a thing too there. So one to pay attention to. I've read some things on that. We got Investigator's Journal here again as well. We got our dual lands. I just love the art for these. Absolutely love the art for these. Voldaren Estate could be in a vampire deck. Double face card. So this is the last piece, I think, that we got. There we go. Yep. So some of the other impactful stuff here in the set that's going to be important. Again, Faithbound Judge, huge. I know some of the team in the Discord server have had the chance to play this in limited or draft, and it's been an absolute house. We got more here with the 3-drop slot with the Spirit Warlock, flying lifelink protection for vampires, spirits, lifelink. All right, continue to go down. We got some human stuff. Again, lots of good spirits. We got enchantments. Again, I'm not going to flip all these and kill it for you guys, but there's a lot of stuff that happens here on these cards. Again, as we look, more spirits. Serpent Egg, love it. This is kind of fun. Look at this thing. Boom, 4/4, kind of cool. Can't be blocked. Not bad. More spirits. We got Inspector. Again, more spirits, just impressive. So I think there's certainly going to be a spot there for those things. Here's a cool one. In Concealing Curtains, Defender, transform this, activate only as a sorcery. We'll get a 3/4 creature with Menace, Eye Horror. When this creature transforms, a target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. If you do, that player discards that card and draws a card. So that could be a game changer. This slows stuff down, particularly against the aggro decks. So something that you can do and certainly use to really slow the roll. A good mid-range card too. On top of that, vampires. Voldaren Bloodcaster here, flyer 2/1. Lots of stuff that's going to happen. Volatile Arsonist, human werewolf. Big at the top end. When it attacks, it deals 1 damage each target creature up to 1 target player and or up to 1 target planeswalker. Daybound, this gets bigger, 2 damage. So good pinger, could be top end card. A little heavy though. Avabruck Caretaker. So this is an interesting one. Hexproof, beginning of combat. Again, this is a good board breaker. A good one in terms of mid-range battles or aggro type decks that you might run into. Hull Pack Piper. Spell can't be countered, so this is big. You may put a creature card from your hand on the battlefield. If it's a wolf werewolf, untap Hull Pack Piper, activate this as a sorcery. It's also got Daybound here. Good way to play around some of the counter stuff. Ulvenwald Oddity, Trample Haste, transform this guy, 4/4, big one, 8/8, huge. So interesting board breakers there. That can be really helpful. So I think we'll see a lot of players play around with those things. We got our spirit stuff, again, werewolves. I think this is a pretty cool card. Dorothea here, Vengeful Victim, powerful in that flyer archetype, spirit archetype kind of a deal. Additionally, enchant creature. When this whenever this creature attacks, create a 4/4 white spirit creature token with flying that's tapped and attacking, sacrifice that token at the end of combat. If this would be put into a graveyard instead. This is very powerful here too, and going to be huge in terms of those flyer decks. So really boost stuff quickly and punishes players as well, but you want to make sure that you have this ability. So you're going to disturb to transform it for 3. It's like there's a blanket on the spirit though. There's House and Innistrad too. That's a fun card. I got a few of those. We got Edgar here again. If you want to go the white black Orzhov kind of vampire style or vampire cleric, again from a different one. So pretty awesome, pretty sweet. Very excited about what we have here, my friends. I hope you enjoyed today's guide. We got a lot of good stuff going. Stay tuned because we're going to have a host of things here on the channel for you in terms of new standard top decks, historic, jank. I'm going to try get back to live stream here this month. So stay tuned for that. A lot of stuff coming. Twitch, YouTube. On top of that, What else we got? We got Friday Night Meta. We'll get more tier lists, so make sure you check out the other tier lists. Lots of great information in there for you, my friends. Last but not least, as always, thank you. Appreciate your support. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. May your card draws and top decking skills be in your favor. And with that, Planeswalkers, again, flip me a like if you enjoyed today's episode. Like I said, appreciate that support. Great ways to support the channel. Stay connected. YouTube members, patrons, thank you always. Last but not least, truly appreciate your time. And love to hear from you. So let me know down below, or feel free, like I said, to hop in the Discord server. There's about 300 plus people in there. Lots of chatter always around the new set. So it's a lot of fun. So with that, Planeswalkers, you stay safe. You take care. We'll see you again soon. Until next time, Mythras out.